Hello and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jeremiah Karpowitz and I'm the Executive Editor for AEC Next News. I want to thank Newforma for their support of today's webinar, Successful User Adoption in AEC Firms. We have a few housekeeping notes to go over before we get started. If you have any technical questions or issues using the webinar platform, please use the chat box and we'll respond right away. If you have any issues with the audio, please click on the phone icon above the chat window to receive the teleconference info. For those that do call in today, to ensure call quality, everyone's lines have been muted. But we do want this webinar to be as interactive as possible. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation. Please type your questions into the chat box and hit send to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll have our presenters answer a few of those questions. If we're not able to get to all of them, we'll respond to post-webinar via email. If you happen to get disconnected, you can log on again using the instructions provided in your webinar confirmation email. If you continue to experience difficulty, please email info@aecnext.com and we'll respond right away. This webinar will be recorded and you'll receive a thank you email with the on-demand materials within 2 business days. So with that out of the way, it's my pleasure to introduce the people who are going to be talking through what it means to make your project succeed. Aaron Kivett is the Technical Manager for Strategic Partnerships at Newforma. He spent 9 years at BNIM Architects in Kansas City, learning firsthand about information management in the design industry. Aaron has also spent the past 9 years as Newforma's Technical Product Manager, helping global architecture, engineering, and construction firms solve information management problems. Deborah Bartlett is a Newforma implementation specialist with CPL, formerly Clark Patterson Lee, a multidisciplinary firm specializing in the healthcare, transportation, municipal, and academic sectors, providing architectural, interior, design, and various engineering services. Deborah's current role is responsible for influencing and implementing strategic decisions that enhance the firm's prospects for long-term successful adoption and utilization of Newforma to direct the firm toward a more competitive advantage in the future. So as I mentioned, please do send in your questions as they occur to you, and I'll be back at the end to run through some of those questions with our presenters. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron and Deborah.
Thanks, Jeremiah. So I'm not going to speak a whole lot. Deborah is the main star here, but I do want to do a brief introduction of Newforma and who Newforma is. So Newforma has been around since 2004. And we really pioneered the project information management category. We have customers across the world. What we're most proud of is that 96% of our customers renew their contracts each year. So this number means that our customers are constantly getting the value out of the product. And the key thing that Newforma does for you is we help project teams get projects done. And in this industry, it's unique in that we're usually building one-of-a-kind projects and bringing a team of people that have never worked together before. These teams, as I'm sure you know, are usually busy and don't have time to learn new software and tools, even if those tools are going to help those people get their jobs done faster and easier. So to help drive adoption and help people understand how Newforma can help them get their day-to-day work done, we wanted to present this webinar with Deborah, who can help you help your teams get more out of Newforma. So I'll hand it off to you, Deborah.
All right, thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Jeremiah. So, I came to CPL to increase user adoption of the software across 15 offices, 420 employees. I've got 15 years in the industry, and I have over 10 years of experience using Newforma. I brought it to my previous firm. I was actually the records manager, trying to solve that issue of how do we get all of our email in the same place with the project, searchable, should we have some kind of litigation. And I went from doing that to becoming the person, the go-to person for Newforma at that firm of about 100 people. In addition, I have a lot of experience as a user because I like to get involved in construction administration to solve problems and, to have that experience and keep my hand in. So my role is to increase user adoption. That means Here at CPL, I do all the training. I analyze our utilization reports. I'm responsible for onboarding. I do a lot of one-on-one training, and I publicize new format tips. And I'm just responsible for continually introducing new and underutilized features. I manage the licenses here, and in fact, New Forma plays well with several other software, so I am making initiatives toward content integration to manage these multiple databases. Excuse me. So let me just tell you a little bit about the firm. CPL has been listed as one of Engineering News Record's top 500 design firms in the nation since 2014. And it's listed as one of Architectural Record's top 300 architecture firms. You can see over there on the right some more of our details. We're a multidisciplinary firm, and we're headquartered in Rochester, New York. We span 4 states, and we're going on our 45th year in the industry. So let me show you 3 of our projects. The first one is the Mercedes-Benz Stadium pedestrian bridge at Northside Drive. This is in Atlanta. It's a $23 million project. It was fast-paced design build for a new 1,200-foot long pedestrian bridge/ramp. And we were the design team on this project, which required coordination between Georgia DOT, MARTA, City of Atlanta, and Georgia World Congress Center, together with the stadium contractor. Second one is our National Comedy Center. They're very proud of the fact that they earned that right to be called national. It's in Jamestown, New York. If you know anything about that, that's where Lucille Ball grew up. And it's expected to host 120,000 visitors a year. We merged 2 historical buildings to create a sizable museum, which has close ties to the Lucille Ball Museum. It's 38,000 square feet of experiential attraction and performance venues, and it's an outgrowth of the newly refurbished Gateway train station in Jamestown. It's a $50 million project. That last one is this $260 million project. It's an expansion of Rochester General Hospital here in Rochester, New York. And it's a 7-story addition with extensive renovations that's going to improve the patient flow and accommodate the implementation of a new nursing care model. And that's going to transform delivery of care at this hospital. So let's talk a little bit about what CPL's challenges were. Several of our acquisitions led us to rapid growth. We had a lot of acquisitions in a short amount of time. So searchability of project email and design decisions, they were a challenge. We have 15 offices. We lacked standardization across offices, projects, and disciplines. And we had a heavy dependence on Dropbox, Citrus file share, and emailing of PDFs, you know, both out and incoming. So why did we decide on New Forma? Well, you know, we wanted to minimize litigation risk, and because of the amazing searchability of everything under the project level, you know, project level down on the server, that really enhanced our ability to be much more efficient and responsive to any kind of discovery request. File transfers. This is a real game changer. Being able to transfer files of almost any size in and out, it really makes a big difference. You think about large submittals, coming in, models that you might transfer out to those you're coordinating with. And, you know, what it did was it kind of forced us to create a unified approach across 15 offices. And, you know, having new format has increased our technical advantage, too, in the marketplace. So what have been the project benefits? One of the things that I think is really important is that this centralized real-time access to all project information. You know, all members of the team understand where we are at any given point, you know, whose court the ball is in. So for instance, you know, outside consultants and contractors can see where we are with submittals. Are they under review? Have we returned them? And we can see the same. And all the items in New Forma, you know, for that project are linked. So the RFI is linked to the drawing, is linked to the email, and that searchability is able to see those relationships. So it's enabling us to eliminate coordination errors and mitigate risk. And it's organizing unstructured data because regardless of, you know, how you have it on the server underneath the project, or somebody put something in the wrong folder, or it's a PDF that's attached to an email, it's searchable. I like to use this example when I'm training. I'll say, let's send someone an email and just say in the email, here it is. And the subject's just going to say something like that file you asked for. And I'm going to attach a PDF, and the name of the PDF is one PDF. So that's telling you nothing about the content in that PDF. But if it were an asbestos report and you typed in the word asbestos, you would find that PDF. So it's pretty amazing. Another example I have that I love is looking for eye wash stations. Where do we have a list of eye wash stations for this 7-story hospital? And it'll bring you to every attribute of an eye wash station in your DWG. So collaboration across teams, locations, consultants, contractors, and transparency for the owner. And this is a good selling point for owners too, is for them to be able to see where we are in the project at any time in terms of construction administration. So successful project delivery at CPL. Adoption is driving clarification of firm practices and standards because when you have multiple offices and you have team members from one office working with team members from another office on the same project, there really has to be continuity in your processes. It's also allowing us to manage expectations with contractors and consultants because we write it into our front-end specs that we will be using New Forma, and so will they. It's definitely improving PM time management. Ask any PM who's using New Forma for their 10 or 12 or 15 projects that they're managing. They're going to open up New Forma every morning, look at the submittals, look at the RFIs, look at the file transfers, and be able to see in just a moment where we are in the process, what needs to be addressed. It's a lot quicker communication, a lot less delay, and that saves us money, helps us protect our fee. And it's giving us an increased competitive advantage in the marketplace because we aren't spending a lot of time, manually doing these processes and trying to keep these projects straight without this project management software. And I really like to highlight that transparency for the owner, as I said before. So we talked about agility, embracing agility when we talked about the description of this session. And to embrace agility, an organization needs to be aggressive in reshaping its culture and business practices. just as continuous improvement is a critical organizational strategy, adaptation to an increase in changing external and internal environments is essential to successful user adoption of any new software platform. And this really goes beyond, software platforms. You've got to keep changing. You've got to, continuously be aware of changes in technology. And having been with Newforma for 10 years, I can say they're just great about doing that next great thing and being responsive to users and to clients when, there is an idea that would make the software even better. So vision is so important to communicate to your firm. First and foremost, you have to articulate the firm's vision. This is the software we're going to be using, and that vision's got to come from the top. And I think it has to be done in multiple ways, layers, really. The firm's commitment, it's really vital that the depth of the firm's commitment and investment be transparent to the users and to those who are going to supervise them. Be clear about the firm's contractual commitment, but maintain a sense of shared purpose. So when I started here 13 months ago to be the Newforma implementation specialist for this firm, I asked one of the board members, what's your vision for Newforma in the next 5 years? And this is the thing I was told: every phase, every project, every discipline, every office. So I use that quite a bit. This was my mantra. I use this on the intranet. I use this in my Outlook Away message, which is only internal. I use this in my signature book, in my email. I use this over and over and over. And after a year, I would have to say that expressing to people that this phase is a commitment, this phrase is our commitment, also comes with the responsibility of expressing that it doesn't mean every person with a license will use every feature of the software. It really is role-based. One of the things you're going to have to keep in mind is you've got to develop or adjust your protocols when you discover disconnects across locations, markets, roles, and project types. Construction inspectors use the software differently than architects, engineers, landscape architects, etc. And I believe you have to respect the unique workflows. Landscape design, transportation, mechanical engineering, for example, they really require unique workflows. They require unique folder structure, specifications. You have to remain fluid in your expectations. Remember that there are real differences between disciplines, personalities, and learning styles, so meet people where they are. And above all, manage your expectations, because some project managers are simply too overloaded right now to stop and learn. And that means you have to circle back. You have to keep trying and, capturing the moment with them. And be prepared for misinformed leaders, dinosaurs, and employees who've had negative experiences with the software in another firm. So maybe they come from a stalled or failed implementation, or, just think that the software should be used differently than maybe the way that we like to use it. So be prepared for all of that. Accept that adapting new workflows will be stressful for some people, and as much as possible maintain the current workflows, supplement productivity with new form of tools. Now, you know, this isn't the case for everybody. There's always this subset of people that are enthusiastic, you know, early adopters, ask all the wonderful questions. I say to people when I'm training, ask me, can New Forma do that? You know, rather than assume that they have to find some process outside of that platform, ask me, can New Forma do that? Because very, very often it can. So when we advocate for usage of the software, I like to think of it as a drip, drip, drip. Some people call this the Chinese water torture method. But you have to approach these issues in a repetitive and varied way. You create a New Forma training page on your company intranet. I did that, and I posted all my tips and also every session that I did that was recorded on that page. Within every presentation, so say the PowerPoint slides, I always circled back to the vision, and it was on the training page as well. And I added it to the bottom of weekly tips that I would post. And I would say I learned this at New Forma World in 2018, that the best time to send out a tip is Tuesday morning. So if you want to do that and hit the most people that are going to read it, it's Tuesday morning. I also added it for a while to my signature block, and I use my internal Outlook away message very strategically. Every couple of weeks I change it. So I'll say, you know, I'm going to be back tomorrow morning or whatever you say, but then at the bottom I'll say something like, have you filed your email? You know, please do. Or are you gearing up for CA in your next project? You know, contact me and I can tell you how I can help. That type of thing. The influence campaign is going to be ongoing. So find early adopters and make alliances. You know, keep your ears open. There's always going to be somebody that's saying, hey, you know, how does this work? Or can New Forma do this? Those people are going to be able to talk to the person next to them. There's going to be a ripple effect from that. So discover your champions. And you're thinking, what is this graphic anyway? Well, I like to think it's me spreading my fairy dust. One of the good things that we do here is we move a lot in this office. There are 3 floors here, and then we have a building next door, and then the 15 offices. And moving around gives you the opportunity to get to know little microcosms and have influence and overhear you know, questions and comments. Visit other offices, even to talk with a small core group, because this is time well invested. You should really try to review your metrics. And what I mean by that is you can get usage reports. This is one approach. And you can look at this and you can see when someone's using a feature that maybe nobody else is using, or maybe a small group seem to be using it, or it just looks like people are clicking on it once or twice and not understanding how to use it. So that's one of the ways that I increase user adoption, as I start going to those folks, or I'll do a presentation on that feature. So continue to create and discover champions by listening. Listen and take advantage of the teachable moments. You hear something in a company-wide meeting that you want to address, build it into the next tip you publish. I was at a company meeting where it seemed like a lot of K through 12 projects were gearing up, but K through 12 weren't the heaviest users of our software. So, I was able to go the next day and send out an email, addressing those particular projects. Or overheard a principal once where I was sitting, tell a drafter that he wanted a large file to be transferred, and I said, how do you want him to do that? Knowing that he wouldn't think of info exchange. And so then I offered, support right there on the spot. So there's a lot of that spontaneous, teachable moments that happen. Learn. I'm a lifelong learner. I really enjoy learning. And I think that you will always have to learn the next new feature, sort of ahead of the curve so that you can share it. So we talk about organizational agility, and I guess I'm going to leave you with this quote that I hope ties it up for you. I'm going to read it to you. I hope you don't mind. The absence of a more collaborative and robust process of managing risk and a lack of standardized project and portfolio practices means a lack of organizational agility. Therefore, agility is associated with high-performing organizations that seek change not for change's sake, but for the sake of competitive advantage. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Deborah. That was excellent. So I want to be able to take any questions that the audience might have. But as we wait for some of those to come in, Deborah, you talked a little bit about the advantages of the tools here and in specifics like the search capability and how much that opened up. I wanted to ask you about the challenges that might have represented, because the advantages are there, but I mean, what did it mean to just kind of get people to change that are so used to doing everything by email?
Well, I think when they realized, for instance, when you're doing construction administration and you've got that consultant or contractor that continually sends you things through email, I think they realized that when they redirected the contractor to submit those things through info exchange, was taking, a lot of the workload off of them. Because when that happens, the contractor is actually populating a bunch of fields for you. So that's one of the ways that I think people have had aha moments. And so many more, like issuing bid documents, for instance, or shared folders in Newforma where there's some collaboration that needs to take place. And they are wondering how that can be done and don't realize they can do that through Newforma.
Excellent. You also mentioned that into some of your contracts that you're writing into the specifications that Newforma is being used. I just wanted to see, is that something that kind of can cause clients to be more at ease in terms of your approach, or some of them kind of taken aback by they think they're being strong-armed, or what's been the reaction to seeing that kind of detail written into these specs?
It's a really good question. I always say to my kids, life is about managing expectations, and I try to help some of the less experienced project managers understand that our role is to redirect the contractor when they push back, and we're trying to protect our fee. So we don't want to do the work that they should be doing for nothing, So I always say to them, that first email when they send you that PDF, that's when, and I have a lot of experience with this, and I can tell you, that's when you say, I need you to do it this way, and you give them support and assistance, and you let them know you're going to be successful at this because I'm going to be right here helping you. I have never had anyone I redirected be upset with me. you get a response like, oh, thank you for telling me how to do that. People want to do things the right way. And they know that, 9 times out of 10, they're working for us, right? So they want to do things the way that we've asked them to. I think the key in putting it in your upfront specs is to be very clear and to mention the fact that, we have instructional information and that if we need to, we'll walk them through it. I know one of the companies that presents at New Formal World, Shive Hattery, I think it is, they actually put a link on their forward-facing website to New Forma and to some resources for the contractor. I write instructions to them. How do you send a file to us? And I include fields that it might not be necessarily intuitive what goes into those fields. So if you can go to a pre-construction meeting, managing and setting that expectation, you're doing yourself a big favor. It's really important to do that up front.
Beautiful. And Deborah, do you have any experience of using New Forma as a subconsultant when the prime is not?
Not personally. I mean, you mean, do I have experience with subconsultants using New Forma with us?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Not usually. They usually go through the GC, and that's the way we want it. I will say that another scenario is design build, when we're working for the contractor. And I don't know if that's what you mean, but when we're working for the contractor, we don't have as much political clout to push back. So that's when we are trying to help them understand how this is going to be, useful to them, and that it's one place where all the parties can get the information they need. It doesn't always work. Sometimes they're invested in another platform that all of us don't like as well. So, manage expectations. That's what I have to say about that one.
Beautiful. And I think the question, or maybe it's more of a comment that we'll wrap up on, is that as you were talking through everything, one of the things that jumped out to me the most is that this is a tool that allows that enables you to meet people where they are, regardless of kind of what they're using or what they're doing. But it's just such a powerful concept. And Aaron, I don't know if you had any comments about how you've seen that out make a real difference, or how that can change minds in terms of where people can see the difference that this tool can make.
Yeah, I think the thing that has the biggest impact on people that I work with is just trying to think about the amount of time that it can save just by using it once. If you can save 15 minutes by finding an email that you wouldn't have been able to find before, that's a pretty tangible impact on what it is you're trying to do. Or if you can demonstrate to somebody who's used to going in and manually updating submittal registers in Excel, you can show them New Forma sort of automatically keeping that submittal register up to date without them having to really do any extra work. Things like that are really simple things that you can show someone that they can directly relate to.
Yeah, I would say too,
go ahead.
Sorry, I would just add to that to say that, a lot of people are in the habit of drilling down through the server. And if you're like us, that's pretty deep that you have to drill down at times. And to not have to do that, to have to just start typing in what you're looking for and say, I'm looking for something on a DWG. That is usually the most powerful example that I give is when in a matter of about 10 seconds, I find that and I show the PM And now I'm looking at this and I can immediately email what I'm seeing in front of me, this screenshot, basically, to the person I'm talking on the phone to. It's just incredibly quick. I could even mark up that little screenshot of what I found right at that moment. That's very powerful to me. Rather than drilling down through all those folks trying to find what I'm looking for, and I mean, how many of us have seen somebody take a drawing, fold it into quarters, copy the section that they want to write on, PDF over to a contract?
Makes a lot of sense. Well, perfect. I think we're gonna leave it there. So, I want to thank Aaron and Deborah for taking the time to join us today, and thank Newforma for their support of today's event. Before we sign off, there's just a few remaining bits of business. Stay tuned for a follow-up email about accessing the on-demand version of today's program, and we're always eager to receive your feedback. So please complete the short survey that's going to appear when you log out. And you can feel free to contact me directly for any questions or follow-up that you might have. I'm jkarpowitz@divcom.com. So thanks to everybody for taking the time to attend today's webinar, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for having us.